Previously on the Tony Kornheiser Show.
No,
not yet. Not
kidding.
to our knowledge.
The only thing I do with mushrooms when I see them on the street or like by the sidewalk is I pretend I'm a field goal kicker.
Everybody does that. All right. So Michael, your position is what? Can we eat them? Can we take them in and?
Oh, I would not touch those mushrooms.
Oh, okay.
But
if you see a neighborhood child approaching it,
tell them to eat them. Yeah, see what happens. Because kids have natural immunity.
The Tony Kornheiser Show is on now.
All righty then. Michael Kornheiser is here, 6 feet 1 inch away at Uncle Benny's table. Michael Wilbon will be on the show. Chuck Culpepper will be on the show, having covered the U.S. Open at Winged Foot. Michael has a lot of notes. What are these notes you have in front of you?
Oh, this is my strokes gained analysis from yesterday's final round.
Oh, okay, great.
We'll be going to those in the third hour, I guess.
Okay, that would be great. Yeah, with Hoda and George W. Bush's daughter. We'll go with that. Let's see. Sports. There's just loads of sports yesterday. I don't think hockey was on. I think everything but hockey was on. I think basketball was on, football was on, baseball was on, golf was on. I think the hockey, am I right on this, that the hockey was Saturday night, game one, and so they didn't come back on Sunday night. And it's an NBC event, so they're not going to come back Sunday night because they have NBC Sunday Night Football, which is the highest rated regular show in all of television. And you saw the respect that other networks have for it, because one network programmed the Emmys against it, which is as far away from sports as you can get. And the basketball game on ESPN was moved to 7:30. This is it's not a West Coast game because everything is in Orlando, but it's Western Conference game. 7:30 is a 4:30 p.m. start in California. And what they're saying is we don't really want to go head-to-head all night long with the football because we're going to get drummed. So we'll just schedule it early. Of the two games, we can talk about a million things, but of the two games that were on at night, they both came down to the last play, one make, one miss. Cam Newton, who had scored a bunch of touchdowns already this year running the ball, had one in the first quarter against Seattle. He went to his left. The probability is that he's going to get in because he's 6'5" and very, very powerful, and he got upended. He lost yards. That was the end of that game. And in the earlier game with the basketball, Anthony Davis hit a three. I'm not thinking Anthony Davis is going to hit a three, but I'm probably wrong. We'll talk to Wilbon about it. Anthony Davis is probably a very good shooter from three, as he's what is commonly referred to now as a stretch five. And not everybody is like Jokic. Jokic is a very good shooter from three as well, but does most of his damage inside. Anthony Davis, I guess, moves out. There were a million exciting finishes yesterday. In Kansas City, Mahomes led them down the field to get the tie, to get to overtime. The kicker hit it from 53. Then there was a movement in the line penalty, and he went to 58, hit it again, but they called time, stayed at 58, and hit it again. Was 3 for 3 outside of 50 in Kansas City. Or was that in Los Angeles? I thought it was in Kansas City. Maybe not. Maybe it's in Los Angeles. Doesn't really matter because the kicker ended the game, and that was just fabulous. The Dallas Cowboys, with no probability of winning the game whatsoever, down by 1 million to Atlanta. They end up getting in position to win the game because of a touchdown and a very oddly spinning onside kick that you have to wait to see if it goes 10, and it goes 10 and the Cowboys recover. I've never seen anything quite like that before. It was like a childhood game I used to play called Steal the Bacon, where everybody circled around a bowling pin and somebody tried to pick it up and run back to his side. It's a novelty game of sorts. I'm going back 100 years now. Anyway, and the Cowboys won that game. And I always like when the Cowboys lose, and they won that game. And Mike McCarthy, who had two terrible calls of fake punts in his own side of the field, survives, and the Cowboys are 1-1. There's a million games like that. I spent most of my time on the U.S. Open, and I will turn this over to you with you. What does your chart say? Bryson DeChambeau won. The other kid didn't lose it. Bryson DeChambeau won it. Bryson DeChambeau was the only person in the field under par yesterday. There were some par scores. I think Dustin Johnson was even. But nobody was under. He's the only guy under for the tournament. He won the thing. Your thoughts?
Well, this is just complete validation for Bryson's transformation, for his approach to golf. And really, you immediately think as soon as he accepts that trophy, Brooks Koepka must be kicking his TV screen thinking,
Right.
I have to take one major off and you guys can't take down this clown.
Right.
No, to talk about his final round, he missed more than half of the fairways.
Gouged it out of the rough beautifully, time after time.
But again,
Matthew Wolff did that on Saturday. Same thing.
Correct. And so this was the first time you had a 54-hole leader in Matthew Wolff who would hit so few fairways, and then you see Bryson DeChambeau who follows that formula, and it gets to the point where you say, what actually is what's my benefit in trying to chase, say, the average tour distance or chase the fairway if even good drives are rolling out? You look at the courses where historically you've had low numbers of fairways hit. You have something like the Olympic Club. You have Torrey Pines where they can make those fairways so small. But his approach worked, and
that's what I want to ask you about this. The conventional wisdom, certainly I had it, was if you hit it in the rough is so thick, you're never going to win. And he won easily.
So the difference here in Tillinghass's design is that if you looked at the way he played out of the rough, and what's so fascinating was when NBC got out of the way and just let him talk to his caddy, you'd hear things, I got 147 to the pin, there's 10% of hurt coming out of this rough, I'm only trying to land it to the front edge, it's going to bounce up here. He was able to play through the fronts of these greens, and if you were able to judge those rollouts, you saw him make birdie from the rough, trying to roll it through these fringes. And what I was going to get to is everyone focuses on the distance. You actually, when they both eagled 9, which you thought was
Wolff
going
was
to
ahead
set
of
up,
him.
He was ahead of him by 15 yards or so.
Yeah.
You thought it was going to set up a great back 9, and it didn't. And it comes down to the distance is secondary at this point. He has turned himself into not just a good putter, but a very good putter. And if you look at where his strokes gained have improved over the years, back in 2017, he ranked 145th in strokes gained putting. And you look at guys like Rory McIlroy, Justin Thomas, when they putt well, they win, and they win going away. When you look at DJ, when he putts well, he wins going away. 18, he goes all the way up to 32nd. That's a big jump. 19 up to 28th. Year of 2020, all the way up to 10th. So, this is that weird tournament where this is sort of towards, you're no longer in your 2020 stat line, but that's the difference where you saw him make a lot of those 5 and 6 footers for par. Many of them, he was a little tentative on the ones above the hole for birdie. You saw that on number 1, but beyond that, he was very solid in that mid-range. So when you were, say, in the rough and you had to pitch something out from 200-plus yards to the front edge and you're rolling the rock well from 50-plus feet, that's where he won it.
So I guess I wonder about, I think putting probably wins most tournaments.
Yeah.
The difference is probably putting. I'm going to ask Chuck Culpepper this, and I'm going to ask it to you first. There's a great talent in the NBA, Zion Williamson. He has a body unlike anybody else's body in the NBA. And the great fear is that the stress he puts on his body will limit his career. It will not be a prolonged career. It'll be a 4 or 5 or 6 year career because his body will collapse. The stress that DeChambeau puts on his body, the way he swings, do you foresee the same thing with him, that he is a short-term guy?
I don't, but I would start with another question, which would be, would you trade, say, some of your healthiest years if you can try and squeeze 3 to 5 majors out of it and enter the talks of all-time great players if you think that this can make that happen? And you have to look back to what Tiger Woods did and the stresses that he put on his body and the way that he talked about actually popping his left knee to get that prodigious length that we saw that dominated.
Doesn't it look
people.
like DeChambeau is torturing his body when he swings
He
driver?
does, but if you actually look at the way he practices, and again, you saw a guy who
Practices
not
all
only
the
shut
time.
down the range, they had to put on the lights for him,
Yeah.
and he was just ripping drive after drive after drive, full throttle. He can tell you exactly the difference of speed between his stock, maybe a 185, 190 ball speed drive versus something that you might describe as a fairway finder. So, but he's also doing this with all sorts of monitors to see where the stress is on various parts of his bodies, be it, the feet, the knees, shoulders, arms. So I hope he's going to be able to protect this, but you also might say this could be a short-lived plan.
Yeah.
And maybe try and max out. The immediate thing you're thinking of is November. And if you have a cold
Masters.
Masters, you have early tee times where I can't see why you wouldn't think of him as the favorite right now with the way that he's putting. though he will have to be sharper with some of those mid-irons and wedges.
Can you hear the dog whining in the background? The dog is just whining. Could you, Michael, just send her outside? Just put her outside. She wants to go outside. Let her go outside. So we're interrupting the show.
I feel like I'm being sent to my room.
No, we're interrupting the show so that the dog can go outside because the dog doesn't want to be in here. She wants to, as Nigel knows, parade around the yard with Frisbees.
Yes.
The problem with that is we're in the house. So after she parades around the yard with Frisbees, she's going to come to the door and start barking, and she's going to want to come in. And all right, let me just get to something else, as long as I'm being intellectually stupid about a dog.
Your salted snacks?
I'm going to get to them in a second. I just want to say this. I generally like David Faraday. I generally think he's amusing, and I think his one-on-one show is usually quite good. His snarkiness about DeChambeau is remarkable to me, actually remarkable. That's why I'm remarking on it. He tries to paint DeChambeau as intellectually brilliant and beyond everybody else, but he does it with every comment about DeChambeau, so it makes you think, well, he's just mocking DeChambeau. Doesn't it feel like he's mocking DeChambeau?
It makes you realize there's definitely
doing?
more to this. When you think of personalities like DeChambeau and Patrick Reed, there's definitely deeper threads with the tour players, with the personalities around the tour, and I think that disdain carries over even to
It
some.
feels
even
like
into some of
disdain
into
from
some of
Faraday.
the
Faraday's
announcers.
smart.
Yeah,
Feels like
and
disdain.
What I respect about DeChambeau is not even just the game itself. He controls. I mean, what he would say is he controls his brand and the narrative around him very well. Minus that episode over the summer where he yelled at the cameraman. But the lasting shot of DeChambeau right now, he's built a resume where you're queuing back. Wilbon like this, queuing back to the USAM win at Olympia Fields, and now this, which you have those beautiful long shadows over the last closing holes of Wingfoot, one of the most storied U.S. Open courses, and you have him like this USGA poster child as he's busy getting a ruling because there's a sprinkler head that's kind of in his way.
Hey, and he's also gigantic. He's not. You don't see people in golf like this. I just wanted to read this one thing. I walked into Columbia the other day, and I went into my locker for the first time in a long time, and there was a package waiting for me in my locker.
Socks?
No, Ted Blake in Medford, Massachusetts. Dear Dr. Tony, enjoy the enclosed golf snacks. Feel free to share with Michael. There's a giant Payday candy bar. It's really big. I eat Payday candy bars, as Michael knows, every time I play. I start on number 8 and carry through to about 14. Eat Payday.
That one will last all the way to 16.
Read this out loud.
Salted egg fish skins. I believe it's described as crunchy.
Crunchy, crispy, addictive from the snack yard. Salted egg fish skins.
No, thank
Are
you.
we eating these, Michael? It just doesn't sound appealing.
Crack one open.
No, in the break. I'll do it in the break.
Did we get
Nigel,
those out
would
of
you eat something called a salted egg fish skin? I don't know.
No,
Michael,
that
what's it
reminds
made
me-
out of? Is it made out of fish?
I'm hoping it's made out of fish skin.
I don't know. It sounds like something from Japan. It's that meat
Ingredients:
from Japan.
Fish skin, rice,
Yeah, the Chinese-
bran oil,
yeah, the
egg yolk,
Chinese vending
sugar, wheat
machine
flour,
meats.
non-dairy creamer, so you could throw it, I guess. That's it for the ingredients that I can pronounce and that are recognizable.
Fish skins. It's the actual fish.
A yummy umami, a crispy, crunchy, seriously munchy, dory. Don't name the fish. Dory fish skin packed within
a
salted
dory.
egg.
Isn't a dory an English fish? Aren't those British fishes, Nigel? Dory?
I was thinking of Finding Nemo.
right.
I'm not overly familiar with them. I just remember Dora was one of those
Dora the
one of
Explorer?
those animated movies, wasn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
That's really helped us a lot. All right. We will take a break, and we will come back with Michael Wilbon to discuss a whole bunch of things. I am Tony Kornheiser.
You're listening to the Tony Kornheiser Show.
Here's a Simply Safe ad. You want to keep your house safe? Get my dog. If you don't want to get my dog, here's the thing about home security companies. Most trap you with high prices, tricky contracts, and lousy customer support. So while there are a lot of options out there, there's only one no-brainer, and that's Simply Safe. We put that up in our studio. If we ever get back to the studio, we'll see all the people who have violated the studio space and have them arrested forthwith. Simply Safe's got everything you need to protect your home with none of the drawbacks of traditional home security. It's got an arsenal of sensors and cameras to blanket every room, or in our case, the one room in the studio. Window and door tailored specifically for your home or your studio. Professional monitoring keeps watch day and night, ready to send police, fire, or medical professionals if there's an emergency. You can set it up yourself in just under an hour. Just peel and stick the sensors exactly where you need them. There's no technician required. There's no contract, no pushy sales guys, no hidden fees, no fine print. What would the world be without pushy sales guys? And all of this starts at $15 a month. I'm not the only one who thinks Simply Safe is great. U.S. News and World Report named it the best overall home security of 2020. So head to simplysafe.com/Tony and you get a free HD camera. They'll know that you're my listeners. Simplysafe.com/Tony. Free HD camera. Let me spell Simply Safe for you. SIMPLISAFE. Simplysafe.com/Tony.
You're listening to the Tony Kornheiser Show.
This is sent to us by Rick Romadka, or Ramadka, H-R-O, like Raboski, H-R-O-M-A-D-K-A, Ramadka. And he writes, hope all is well. I'm from the bands Maple Mars and Ruby Free. I'm inviting you to check out my new solo album, Better Days. That's a Springsteen song, which releases on September 22nd. That's soon, if not today. The album features 30 guest appearances from a slew of talented musical friends. Los Angeles label Big Stir released a teaser single from the record called Searchlight. And Searchlight is being played right now for Michael Wilbon, who joins us. A bonanza of sports yesterday, unlike anything that any of us have ever seen. You know, because everything is being played. Football and baseball and basketball and golf. I mean, you could have started at 1 o'clock and you could have gone all the way through basically till midnight or after. How many things did you watch and what had priority for you?
Everything. I did not watch. I didn't watch Stanley Cup play. I don't know.
It wasn't on. It wasn't on yesterday.
Then I watched.
Yeah.
Then I watched everything. You said you could start at 1 o'clock. I started at 1 o'clock. And I went until the end of the Seahawks and Patriots last night, which was a really compelling game.
Yeah, terrific game. I couldn't stay up for all of it, but I mean, if the jury shouldn't be out on Cam Newton, the jury's in. He's really good. He's really good.
It's always out to me on everybody. Because who's not out on? It's not out on Tom Brady and Russell Wilson, but everybody else, it's out on. No Drew Brees either. So I mean, it's out on everybody else. But I loved watching that game last night. But I started off at 1 o'clock, Tony, as you suggested. And in my house is a ritual now where the 80-inch TV has to be on Red Zone, and there are very few reasons that I change that. And I have the Bears on the TV, and I had golf on, and so that's what I started off with, and I went with that for pretty much. I had the sound of the Bears actually went on. Because for the second straight week, that was compelling in a bizarre way. I mean, the Bears have to be the worst. You can sit there and say, well, they're 2-0. Yeah, they're 2-0. They are. And they're terrible. They look like they got outplayed last week by Detroit, a Detroit team without its second-best offensive player, Kenny Golladay. And then they got outplayed in the second half thoroughly by the Giants, who have to be another bad team without
Saquon Barkley.
Saquon Barkley and the receiver, Shepard. So who got hurt, at the end of the first half. So they don't even have their two best weapons, and the Bears needed an offensive pass interference penalty at the end of the game to win a game against the Giants at home. And
there were so many games. There were so many games yesterday. I mean, even if you only cared about field goals, for example, the Kansas City guy goes 53, 58, 58.
Yeah, he just kept saying, "Go ahead, you move me back. We'll do it again. Let's go 63 if I need." And
he did it each time. And then Gostkowski, who couldn't get anything right last week till the end, he kicked one from 49 to win a game. You just go, wow.
The games there were a ton of great games.
The Dallas game. I mean, I root against Dallas. The Dallas game was impossible. You cannot lose that game if you're Atlanta. It's not possible.
It is. Tony, it goes back to a theme of mine, for at least the last 5 years. Maybe it's more than that now. It's just bad coaching. It's bad coaching.
I know.
Cowboys won despite their own coach. You went crazy in our phone call about Big Boy making some...
McCarthy. Yeah, twice in his own zone he went fake punt. And Dan Quinn at Atlanta is a defensive coach, and the defense fell apart. They're up. Dallas is down 15 with 4:45 to play.
Makes no sense. How about the watching a ball, a free kick? It's a free kick. Everybody, you know this at 12 years old. It's a free kick. You have to field it, and they just watched it. And if you're on the receiving team, you don't have to wait till it goes 10 yards. You just you field it. And how do you not? And by the way, it wasn't just one guy having a brain fart. It wasn't. There's like 3 or 4 guys standing around watching the ball, watching a free kick just get consumed by the other players, by the opposing team with the game on the line. There's some weird stuff, but. Yeah, so that and right through the Lakers and the ending with Anthony Davis and that shot last night.
So let me. This is what I started the show by saying that the 2 late games, one miss, one make, and that's what happened at the end of both games. Cam Newton missed and Anthony Davis made. Anthony Davis, I take it, is comfortable from 3 points. That's not a shot where you say to yourself, "Let's not try for that."
No, you have to have You have to have at least 2 guys on the floor at the end of the game, preferably 3, and maybe 4, who are comfortable taking and making that shot. And it was interesting here. I think it was Legler explained it afterward. He said, "Look, Anthony Davis, that might not be his preferred shot in that situation, but he's 6'11" with a great stroke."
Yeah, he does seem to know how to shoot it.
And they ran a play that whatever Plumlee is left in the league on that team on Denver. He just didn't do what he was supposed to do, which is chase without a screen. You better chase Anthony Davis, and you got to contest him receiving the ball like a defensive back. You have to prevent him from catching it and getting a clean look. Look, these guys can make shots completely contested anyway, and he was sort of contested because Joker got out on him. He got out on him even though he was guarding the inbounds passes. How great Joker.
He's a great player.
I know you didn't watch it, but Joker was great.
No, he's a great player. He will never get credit for being a great player because he's an odd-looking player. He's sort of bulky, even though he's slimmed down. But he's a great, effective. He's such an effective player. Now, your position in our phone call yesterday, your position was that this is the one game you thought Denver could win. So now do you think sweep or 5 just to be safe?
No, I think the Lakers.
Sweep.
We'll see the level of disappointment, how they come back from that.
Right.
But that was the only chance to me. And I know everybody's going to say, well, how many times are you going to pick against Denver? I didn't pick against Denver in the Utah series. I thought Denver could win the Utah series. I didn't think they could win the Clipper series, and I don't think they can win this series. They are so admirable as a team, and they are going to be with health, they are going to be a force. They just are. They got so many players, and they got at least two great ones, and we'll see how Porter comes along. I mean, Porter could be a great one. They could have 3 great players right now on their roster. They don't have to go get a big anything. They got them.
That's right. Right.
But I don't think right now. That they have enough to beat LeBron and the Lakers at all.
So let me get to the Open, because you are one of those people, and there are sufficient amounts of people who have a visceral dislike of Bryson DeChambeau.
I don't have a visceral dislike. I don't. Mine is for Patrick Reed. No, I report to you what I hear from the times I'm around golf courses and places where people talk about the industry. And the visceral reaction is from a lot of people in the industry I'm talking about the small community, not the big one. I'm not talking about people who own PGA Superstore. I'm talking about the people in and around golf.
Let me ask you this. I'm going to ask Chuck Culpepper be on later, and I'm going to ask him this, and I asked my son this earlier in the show. And I'll preface it the same way I did with Michael. There is a player in basketball who is superstar now and potentially one of the greats of all time, Zion Williamson, whose body is so much different than everybody else's that the great fear for Zion Williamson is that his body won't give him more than 4 or 5 or 6 years because he is that physically different from anybody else you've really ever seen. Do you have that same thought at all about DeChambeau?
None whatsoever.
Okay.
None. None. There's been plenty of big fat guys in golf who've won.
Well, he's not fat. He's killing.
Well, obviously I'm exaggerating.
Okay.
He sort of is. I mean, he's that body is not. I mean, it ain't in the condition that Zion Williamson's body's in.
But that's deliberate.
I mean, look at John Daly. I mean, come on. I mean,
John Daly had a big fat stomach. DeChambeau has made his shoulders enormous and his chest enormous.
Everything's enormous. His can's enormous. He's enormous. This is what he did. He announced it. He said he was going to do it, and he was going to go at it in this way. No, but
what do you think? What do you think about his talent?
I mean, when you watch
talent.
Is it immense talent? I mean, if to hit the shot on the last drive he took with the driver, wherever that was, 17 maybe, where he goes over the trees, and Azinger, who was really, really particularly annoying yesterday, and that he said about 1,000 times, they're all going to have to recalibrate what they think, and all the haters, all the naysayers. Dude, what did you say? You're the analyst. What did you say? Because I don't know what he said. I don't know what Azinger said before the tournament. I'm not chronicling what Azinger says. But he took it over the trees, and the left trees, and it comes down in the fairway. You're just like, my God, how many people can do that? And they can all hit it. I mean, they can all hit it. They can all just go, 340 anytime they need to now. And he can go 370 when he needs to. It's just insane.
It's a remarkable thing. I think he got on a par 5. I think his second shot was a wedge.
And just he's about to put a long driver shaft in play.
He calculates all. I guess what I'm getting to is Winged Foot was what everybody said there's only one guy under par for the tournament, and only one guy under par yesterday. Only one guy. This guy.
Yeah, he did it. He did it. Now he did it. That's the marvel of this tournament and this outcome. And he does it. We can talk about the prodigious talent, physical talent. I mean, he's quirky, and in a golf sense, he's got these ideas that go against all convention, which is what Azinger was talking about.
When you listen to him talk, like he's talking to the caddy, but he's really talking to himself. It's sort of amazing.
He applauds himself on his shots.
Oh, he said, I hit that perfect. Yeah, I hit it perfect.
Some of it comes across, I'll say it, it's Trumpish. It does. It's just, what he thinks of himself and his level of confidence is unbelievable, and it rubs a lot of people the wrong way. But
he putted great. He was great.
He did everything great.
Yeah, he did.
He did everything great. So we can skip he did everything great. Now, here's the question about him.
What's his career? How long does it last?
Well, I don't even want to address his career because everybody went crazy. Everybody said Jordan Spieth was the next whatever.
Yeah, now he can't. Now he misses cuts.
Right.
He misses cuts.
Even Rory, who
hasn't won in a long time,
higher up on the totem pole than Spieth. I mean, Rory hasn't won a major in a long time.
That's right.
And
That's
so,
right.
I don't need to crown him to quote, the late great
Denny Green. Yeah.
But I'm more intrigued by the notion of, can golf win with a guy who is a villain in that sport? Not I mean personally, in that sport. Can golf win with that?
I don't know that they've ever had that.
He's even quirkier than Patrick Reed, who seems to have almost come back to the pack because DeChambeau's out there.
Yeah,
so
and Patrick Reed had a terrible Saturday.
With that guy, he's a much more compelling personality and talent than any of these other young guys who were all Matthew Wolff. Come on, this guy's 22 years old.
Yeah, 21. He bangs at 350.
He didn't turn 22 yet. Man, come on.
Second major.
His second major. No,
he's never even played a major with fans yet.
No. Neither has Morikawa. No.
Neither has Morikawa. Right, Morikawa. So you've got this array of people, but the DeChambeau, because of the way he plays, the way he looks, and the personality, which rubs so many people the wrong way, apparently. What's going to be? What's going to be this guy's position in the sport? Are people going to look to him? Is he a guy who's going to talk about everything, talk about nothing? Is he going to be just confine his comments to sort of golf and competition in the golf world? I don't know the answers to these questions, but that's what makes this compelling to me.
All righty. We'll see you later.
All right, Tom.
Michael Wilbon, boys and girls. We will take a break. We'll come back with Chuck Culpepper, who was at Wingfoot and can talk at greater length about the tournament and Bryson DeChambeau. I am Tony Kornheiser.
This is the Tony Kornheiser Show.
This is the Bespoke Post ad, and Jesse will probably whine during this. As we all settle into this new normal version of summer, Bespoke Post is here with customized box of awesome collections for guys guaranteed to upgrade your life. I think we're going to have to get the new normal version of autumn, because autumn is tomorrow, isn't it? Isn't it just tomorrow?
9:31.
Is that right? Bespoke Post only sends guys the best stuff every month, no matter what you're into. Box of Awesome has you covered. From style and grooming goods to barware, cooking tools, and outdoor gear, Box of Awesome has carefully built collections for every part of your life. Michael, what is the most recent one?
What does it say about me that I'm only looking in their outdoor section for the survival folding shovel, the Freescape camp saw? I don't need any of these things, but I want them all.
Yeah, you should get them. You should get them. To get started, take the quiz at boxofawesome.com. Your answers will help them pick the right Box of Awesome for you. They release new boxes every month across a ton of different categories. It's free to sign up, and you can skip a month or cancel anytime. Each box costs only $45, but has over $70 worth of gear inside. I wonder if you can check a box for, miniature animals, that revolve around as music plays. I don't think that sounds like Box of Awesome to me.
Not yet.
Not yet.
That's for the holiday push.
Get 20% off your first monthly box when you sign up at boxofawesome.com and you enter the code Tony at checkout. That boxofawesome.com code Tony for 20% off your first box. What do we say, people? Use the code.
This is the Tony Kornheiser Show. Tony Kornheiser Show.
Once again, this is Rick Ramadka, who's been in bands Maple Mars and Ruby Free. This is a solo, I guess, with some of his friends. The label is Big Stir. The first song we played for Wilbon is Searchlight. For Chuck Culpepper, we're playing Better Days. Will be released on vinyl and digital only. These guys are great. Michael, if people want to send their original music, how do they do it?
Send us your music by emailing it to jingles@tonykornheisershow.com.
Chuck Culpepper joins us now. I have asked the same question of my son. I have asked the same question of Michael Wilbon. I will start with this question for you. Is there any thought that you have that as you look at Bryson DeChambeau and how big and strong he is and how differently big and strong he seems from so many other golfers, that you envision Zion Williamson and the thought that what might happen is that this body, it's not sustainable over the long haul?
Sure, I have that thought. I think it's, yesterday in the post-tournament, they tell you not to call it a tournament, I guess. It's an event or something, or a championship, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Post-championship interview, he was calling for one of his drinks that he has to keep the calories up every day. And there's always he fielded a question about, do you worry if this is sustainable? And he said he consults a doctor all the time. But it's definitely a question. Absolutely.
That's what I think just looking at him. I mean, Wilbon says, by the way, that pros don't like him, that nobody likes him. Caddies and pros and coaches, they don't like him. You were up there for 4 days. Did you get that sense? Is he estranged from the others? And if he is it by design, on his own design?
I don't think it's I don't think it's something that's severely, delineated like that. I think it works pretty well day to day in the course. I think you do hear people say he's unpopular, but I never know whether to take that into account or not. I don't know the answer to that. And as I kind of watch him go about his way with other golfers, I could see where it could be the amount of time he takes sometimes could be a problem, could be annoying, but I can't really make that leap to say that he's definitely unpopular. I'm not sure.
Koepka went after him for that once, didn't he? Didn't Koepka win after DeChambeau? Those two are not pals. And Koepka's a big fella himself. He must be hating this.
Well,
He's
Koepka
got to
doesn't
be
have a
hating.
six-pack.
Right, he's got to be hating it.
Well, he must be just chomping to get back, and to join in this particular fray because he's so good at those. Like the way he needled Dustin Johnson on the Saturday night of the PGA. He's so good at just holding his own, and that's one of the things I really like about him as a subject. He's so good at holding his own in these man-to-man battles.
So you prepare to talk to somebody, and you write down questions, and I do this all the time. And I prepared in the event that Matthew Wolff had won, that I was going to try to dwell on this subject that I know you have thought about and written about. There are no fans at these majors. It seems to me that if it is of benefit to anyone, it would be a benefit to somebody young who's never been through that particular cauldron, like Morikawa at the PGA and Matthew Wolff at the U.S. Open. That would be an advantage to them as opposed to the Rory McIlroys of the world who in a crowd, that might cause a surge for someone like that. Do you agree with that theory? Although he was 5 over yesterday, so it didn't really hold up. But
well, and McIlroy agreed with that theory on Saturday night, pretty firmly. And I think two things are in play there. One is that the person, yes, has never dealt with all those other things you deal with when you're walking up a crowded final few holes. But the other thing is that college golf is in their recent memory banks. And so to them, it kind of feels a little bit like college golf at times. This is something that's become, a bit of an old saying now across 3 months plus that we've been walking around these courses with no spectators. That, it's just like another year of college golf in some ways. And Xander Schauffele was saying, except we have caddies. That's the only thing. It's a two-pronged advantage, I think. One is that you're not dealing with the extras, not dealing with maybe what somebody yells toward you or the noise. And then you're also in this position where it's much like college.
I think it's college golf with pants, because in college golf they all wear shorts all the time. It's just college golf with
I
pants.
missed the fans most, heavily yesterday in the 9th hole when they both go back to back. There's
Eagles.
zero chance Matthew Wolff makes that putt if there is a crowd, and if he does, it would be just the most tremendous short walk to the 10th tee. And you forget there are guys like Matthew Wolff who thrive listening to the crowds. You see when he's playing those college match play events and the throngs are around him. And I'd love to see what the fans would have said to Bryson.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. The course was criticized early, but it reared up. One guy under par for the tournament, the same guy under par yesterday. One guy under par yesterday. What does that say about Winged Foot?
Well, I do think that says that it held up all told, and that the conversations about whether DeChambeau is ruining the game are probably a little overcooked at this point. When you consider that 144 guys played and at the outset and one shot under par, I would say that's still a sport that I like to watch, and I think that it's not interesting a lot of times to watch a guy bang a ball all the way up to as far as it goes and then get out a wedge, and sometimes that's not fun to watch. But the fact is, this was fun to watch because it had a lot of carnage, a lot of suspense in certain ways during the first few days. Not on the back nine on Sunday, but I think it's Winged Foot. All in all, even given the fact that they had to probably make some adjustments for taking into account the fading light, and that might be one of the reasons that Thursday was a bit easier. They didn't want to have problems with their schedule. I think it acquitted itself very well.
So Michael and I were talking about this in the open of the show. The conventional wisdom is always this. In an open, you have to keep it on the short grass. When you go into the rough, which is far thicker than in most tour events, you are going to be heavily penalized. This guy was in the rough. Matthew Wolff on Saturday, shooting 65, a course record, was in the rough all the time. DeChambeau, over the course of the tournament, was in the rough all the time. His percentage of fairways hit is maybe the lowest ever of a U.S. Open winner. And you would look at the ball on television, you couldn't see the ball, and it didn't seem to hurt him at all. How do we account for that?
Well, and the other thing is, Patrick Reed had that disastrous back nine on Saturday. And was saying how it had gotten so deep that it was hard to know how the ball was going to come out of the rough, and that was one of his problems. And then this guy is, I think the fact that Wolff shot 65 on Saturday, hitting 2 fairways, and 75 on Sunday, hitting 7.
Yeah, what does it sell us?
I can't make any sense of that. And it tells us the new game, I guess, and that you do have a guy with 23 of 56 fairways winning the thing going, by just mauling the thing. That's a whole new game, and it's an interesting game, I think, in a lot of ways. The idea that, people used to criticize U.S. Opens for being so formulaic. So I'm not sure it's not just a one-off, but boy, that's a whole new way. McIlroy was just puzzled yesterday, talking about, that's everything they tell you don't do to win a U.S. Open.
So we have big-name people, Dustin Johnson, who had one of the great months ever, never contended in this. Rory, as seems to happen so often on Sunday morning on the front, was terrible, absolutely terrible, took himself out of it. Justin Thomas was bad on the weekend. Well, not so much on Sunday, I guess, but Saturday was no good. Patrick Reed was a disaster on Saturday on the back nine. These are big names in golf, but none as big as Tiger and Phil, who were waving goodbye pretty early. I mean, Phil, as I said on the PTI show, enjoy the Amstel Light while you can. For Phil, are we done with them except for the Masters? Are we done with them basically?
Oh, I don't think we're completely done with Tiger, and of course never with the Masters there.
Yeah.
But it sure feels like it. And they on Friday, Phil got the question, "Is this your last U.S. Open?" He said, "I don't know." That kind of surprised me a bit because I would have thought he'd say, "Oh no," and probably I'm sure he will be back, I would guess. But are we done with them as viable topics through the week? I would say for Phil almost, and for Tiger, a few paces from almost. Yes.
Of the people that I mentioned, of Justin Thomas, of Rory McIlroy, of Dustin Johnson, which results surprised you the most that they were not really contending? Is there one guy where you said, I really thought he would contend here?
I was sure Dustin Johnson was going to be, televised a lot more than he was, so to speak. I just thought that it was all there, that he was playing a level of game that it didn't matter where, one of those levels where it doesn't matter where you are, what the course is. So to have him be, dare I say, irrelevant, and he did finish sixth. He did finish sixth.
Because he had a good weekend. Yeah. He had a good weekend, but he was not part of it. He was not relevant at all during the tournament after the first day. He wasn't.
He wasn't. And I still find him the most compelling figure going into the Masters. Even more than DeChambeau. I want to see how he fares at the Masters based on his form of, this late summer. So I still am very curious to see what kind of Masters he'll have. But I was also very just baffled to see that he had a U.S. Open where he just didn't figure.
Yeah. Let me get to the Masters for a second, because I realize that Augusta, Georgia is much further west in the time zone than where I'm sitting now in Washington, D.C. and that's a limited event. But we're out of daylight savings time then. I mean, there's just not that much daylight. Do you worry about their ability to get the first 2 rounds in at all?
I do. I wonder about this, and I find it intriguing for when everybody gets there. Is how will this work, and what will be the methods used to try to work with a pretty inflexible daylight clock there. Yeah, I wonder. I do wonder how it's going to go.
Yeah. You were around for the DeChambeau interviews. Do you have any particular impression of him? I was saying earlier that I really felt that the people in the booth yesterday were rather snarky about him, intellectually. I'm just like, enough already with this. What is he like to talk to?
I think one thing about it is he tries very hard. And, he had that ruckus in, I think it was Detroit this year, where he, was a camera out on the course, if you remember that, and he got upset by it. And he's talking about, we're trying to build a brand here. And I think that's a sense you get when you listen to him, is that, that he's trying to build a brand, and that he's not trying to hide the fact that he's trying to build a brand, and that's in his head when he's talking. He's one of those guys when you hear him, he's trying very hard to be a good interview and to help out and so, some of us say the ultimate virtue a person can have is to give good answers to our particular questions. So, I appreciate the fact that he does give good, long, thoughtful answers and tries to help you out with your question. I had one the other day to him about his hyperventilation on the course and how he's tried to remedy that by having the caddy talk to him about breathing in for 8 seconds and so on. And, it's kind of a strange topic, but I thought it was an important one. And he'll go right along with you with whatever you want to ask. And even if it's something that, could be something that builds toward the negative in his approach. Example, the question he got about is this sustainable long term, this kind of body type? So, and he just goes, he's cooperative. He goes right along with it.
Good. I like that. I want to like him because Wilbon hates him so much. So I want to like him. I want to. Thank you, Chuck. Talk to you soon.
Thank you always, Tony. Okay, thank you.
Chuck Culpepper, boys and girls. We will take a break. We will come back with email and a jingle. I am Tony Kornheiser.
You're listening to the Tony Kornheiser Show.
Have you ever seriously thought about what kind of underwear you throw on every day? You've got some important stuff down there, Luckily, MeUndies has you covered.
No, I like the way they did that.
That was a sinister laugh on my part. I'm sorry. They're changing the underwear game with softer than soft, sustainable undies and fun prints like hedgehogs and lots of colors.
Hedgehogs,
fantastic. No crunchy fish skins yet. With underpants, that's a visual. And lots of colors so you can be comfy being you, inside and out. Here's my personal anecdote. Do you prefer to go bolder or more laid back with your color choices? I've actually started thinking about this when I throw on my underwear every day. As I'm sitting in line at the preschool pickup, wondering, do they know I went bold today? Because I'd like them to be aware of that fact. And this is a must-read section. MeUndies has teamed up with Juju Smith-Schuster, wide receiver, for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You might be used to seeing him on the football field, but get used to seeing him in his undies. It's if he's not taking hits on the field, he's lounging in a onesie, which she says is like zipping up happiness all over your body. Juju swears by MeUndies, undies both on and off the field, for comfort that feels heavenly. His words, and a color or print for every single mood and vibe. Back to the read. Check out the new long boxer brief with Fly, the same soft brief but longer. I have to skip the next part. MeUndies has a great offer for Tony's listeners.
You have to guess what it is.
It's a Gary Braun joke, okay? It's a Gary Braun joke. Okay. MeUndies has a great offer for Tony's listeners. For any first-time purchasers, you get 15% off and free shipping. This is a no-brainer, especially because they have a 100% satisfaction guarantee. To get your 15% off your first order, free shipping, and 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to MeUndies.com/TonyK. That's MeUndies.com/TonyK.
Good read. Very good.
You're listening to the Tony Kornheiser Show. The Tony Kornheiser Show.
Here comes Tony's mailbag. Got your emails, faxes, and your notes. Here comes Tony's mailbag. Gonna read some for all of you folks.
Thank you to Jason Fuse.
But don't send in faxes.
I've eaten a piece of the salted egg fish skins.
Oh.
I don't particularly like them. I don't hate them.
Not what I expected.
They don't taste fishy.
They grow on you.
They don't taste fishy at all. And they have a sort of attractive pepper to it. I don't...
Like a Frito scoop.
They're just odd looking, and they're odd tasting. The dog is going wild for them.
I think you're too embarrassed to admit you kind of like it.
It's sort of okay. Nigel, do the Bethesda bagels there.
Yeah, I don't think you can get fish skin bagels there, but you can get all sorts of bagels at Bethesda Bagels. And there are a number of locations around the DMV. Just go to BethesdaBagels.com for the location nearest you.
He went back for a second bike.
Yeah.
Just go to BethesdaBagels.com, open 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And by the way, Tony, there was a fish called a dorada. It's Spanish. It's a Spanish word for it, so not English. There's no English fish named dorada.
Okay, named Dory. Dorry. Dory. Okay.
Did not see
That'll just about do it for us today. But before we get to the mailbag, let me just say you got to pick up every stitch. Beatnik's out to make it rich. Oh no, must be the season of the witch. That's a Donovan song. Thanks to our guests today, Michael Wilbon and Chuck Culpepper. Thanks to our sponsors, MeUndies. Michael had a great read, Simply Safe, and Bespoke Post. And remember, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Radio.com. If you get the show through iTunes, please leave us a review. From... who wrote us this? I don't know. It doesn't even say who wrote it.
Check the header.
Would it not, Mark Hovis, maybe Mark Hovis, Hovis, would it not be fantastic to see DeChambeau walking down the fairway, ripping open a can of spinach barehanded and swallowing it in one gulp? Step aside, Popeye. From John Palmer in Minneapolis. My ears perked up listening to Friday's show when you began to describe a mushroom situation at the Little House. As you described the mushroom in question, I thought it was likely a chicken of the woods, but lacked photographs to confirm my suspicion. It's a good time to find them. I've come across several this September, and they are one of my favorite wild mushrooms. I considered asking to see a photo in order to help you identify the mushroom, but decided against it. In discussing the mushroom with Michael, you came to the conclusion that Death Angel sounds bad, and I decided you were in a good place. More information would only increase the likelihood of you hurting yourself or others, so leaving well enough alone. I am John Palmer in Minneapolis.
It looks like a chicken of the woods.
Yeah, send him this picture. Brian Hoffman in New York. I recently discovered an app named Picture This, which allows a user to take a photo of a plant. Upon identifying the type of plant, the app provides a plethora of information about the specific plant. Have Michael download the app.
One step ahead of you.
And take a photo of the mushroom to see if the app recognizes the mushroom. If so, you will receive specific information about that particular mushroom instead of guessing through Google. Thank you, Brian Hoffman in New York.
I haven't got past the paywall
Rick
yet.
Devins, our pal in Macon, Georgia. You recently mentioned how the show has a new catchphrase. Just to be clear, if I'm invited back on Survivor, should I yell, use the code? Yes, use the code, people.
Code.
From Ron Delinsky. This is great. That was me on the Sullivan Island Bridge. I couldn't believe listening to the podcast and heard you guys talking about me. This is the guy in the Chatter t-shirt who was apparently detained by the police on that bridge. So were you guilty of anything? You need to. You need Ron to tell us the story. You need to go into detail as to why you were detained.
Great detail.
Yeah, we want to know about that.
Yes.
From Nathan Mark, who writes, Kia ora, Michael and Dr. Uncle Nathan from Tiawudu, New Zealand. First time, long time, you know the deal. Have I won parenting? My 2.5-year-old daughter will basically force any visitors that come to our house to come look at my grass, which must be a good thing since I've spent what feels like her inheritance on it. Recently watered it with a seaweed and fish concentrate. Fish are really getting a play today. And with the nice rain recently, should be in a good position for another potential drought this year. Oh, and when is Saliza on? I love that guy. How good is this?
This is like Walker with my houseplants.
What does he do?
He just loves to show people. He likes his snake plant, but he likes people to see my ficus collection.
That's good. From Charlie Burtz in Springfield, Virginia, my current favorite trend on the show. That's it. The Nats are done. I'm done with them. I'm done. Next show. So I watched the Nats last night. Say strong, Washi. So they went to 19-31 over the weekend, but they don't have another 100 games to get out of it. They have like 7 games left. They're done. They're done. And I did watch Scherzer yesterday. And you know, it's just a bad play.
Nice hold
by
Thames.
Eric Thames. Just a bad play. From Stephen Petrie, a teaching assistant professor at Daniels College of Business at the University of Denver. Dr. Ron, you think you have a hard time understanding James Carville under normal circumstances? Imagine trying to hold a conversation with him after Navy tied up Tulane 24-all at the beginning of the fourth quarter. After spotting Tulane a 24-0 lead at the half, he probably sounded like he had a dozen oyster shells in his mouth. He was 1-1. He lost that one. He won one game, but he remember how he said Navy stinks, and that was a lock for Tulane. One more from Michael Diesenhoff in Avon, Connecticut, which I know well. Over the years, when fall rolls around, I've heard you mention that you consider golfing to be a damn fine expression of one's spirituality, and I fully agree. But this year, the man upstairs might have heard you too. My temple decided to have its Rosh Hashanah service at a local covered outdoor hockey rink that is part of a recreational complex that includes, you guessed it, a lovely public golf course. I could have gone right from praying I make another year to praying I clear the water on number 2. Sadly, I did not have the shaputzpah. It's a fabulous email. If you're out on your bike tonight, everyone, as always, do wear white.
I'm going to solve. All right. Cornucopia cabinet.
No, you're a dope.
longtime.